Wow, what a view. Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol Ped, and welcome to my owner's review of the Defender 90 75th Anniversary Edition. I had to start it on the roof, obviously. Now, I've had the Defender 90 as my Hendy long-termer for just over a month. And I have to say, I haven't done a great deal of driving because it's a real struggle to get the keys off of Tracy. She absolutely loves this car, as do I. And I could probably finish the review right now by just saying, this is our perfect car. We love it, absolutely love it. However, I am a YouTuber and trying to be fair and unbiased, I'm going to go through a bit of an ownership review for our first month of ownership. But straight off the bat, the first thing we love about it is the way it looks and the comments it gets. This Grasmere green metallic paintwork is certainly an eye-catching colour. Now, probably the most controversial part of it is the fact that it also goes onto the wheels. I think you fall in one or two camps. The smaller of those two camps is you absolutely love it. And if you see the car for real in the metal, it looks a lot better in the metal than it does on pictures. A lot of you have said you'd either spray those silver or maybe black. I personally, when I first saw this car launch, I thought, yeah, I'll probably do the same myself. Now I've had it for a month, absolutely no way. I think it's part of the character of this car. So I love the wheels that colour. Let's have a bit of a walk around the car because, to be honest, there's lots to talk about. First up, this is the 90. So Defenders come in three sizes, 90, 110 and 130, and that denotes the length, the wheelbase. This is the shorter version. It only has two doors, and that does lead to a few practicality shortcomings if you compare it to its bigger siblings. Front of the car, I just think looks awesome. It's one of those growers. I wasn't sure the first time I saw the new Defender, but it's grown on me a great deal. This car has a few nice touches. This decal on the front bonnet with 90, I really like that, especially because it contrasts with the paintwork. The 110 plug-in hybrid I had at Christmas was black, so you could only just see that subtly. You've got this kind of fake checker plate on the top here, but front end of the car just looks wicked. Out of my way, I'm coming through. This car has a few external touches. Let me touch upon those because, again, they're quite controversial. A few people have said you prefer the cleaner look when you don't have any of the appendages on. So let's start with the ladder on that side. I'm going to say an obvious thing here. If you don't have the roof rack, you don't need the ladder. They kind of go together. And for us, that roof rack is an absolute essential for this car, especially if you wanted to go on a longer journey over a period of time, let's say 1 or 2 weeks of holiday. Putting a roof box on the top, which I'll be doing very shortly, is really important, but you want to be able to get up onto the top of the car because it's a tall vehicle. I'm 6'3". It's just under 2 meters tall. This thing is like 193 or something. So ladder is super simple. It does lock in place. You've just got a little catch and you just pull it out and then it unfolds. And what's really clever is it unfolds clear of the bodywork. So there's no kind of danger of the ladder damaging the bodywork. And then the only thing you have to be careful of when you climb the ladder is that your feet don't go through the rung of the ladder and then touch the bodywork. So you just kind of use your tippy toes and then that means you can climb up onto the ladder. Or you might not go all the way up onto the roof, but you might be able to kind of put stuff in and out of your roof box. So although the ladder obviously sticks out on the side of the car, I think if you've got the roof rack, really important. Comment I've had a few times from posts I've put since I've had the car is, does this stick out and then block your rear view from your side mirror? The answer to that is yes, it does. Clearly you've got, I don't know what it sticks out, maybe 3 or 4 inches, but it doesn't completely block it. It just blocks the view straight down the side of the car. You've still got your peripheral. Certainly if you're changing lanes, you can look in there and that can be part of your lane changing decision. So it does block it a little bit, but not massively. On the other side of the car, I've got the gear carrier. This is a gear carrier. Now there's an argument to say this is a completely pointless and useless thing. And actually, in a plug-in hybrid version of the Defender, This forms a really useful purpose because you can put your charge cables in it. If you don't need to store charge cables, then there is an argument to say its uses are limited. However, I think it looks wicked, and it makes the whole car look a bit kind of Lara Croft Tomb Raidery. One of the things you'll get, by the way, is with your keys, you get ladder keys and also gear carrier keys. So it's just a key, you just unlock it. Ooh, if I can do that, give it a twist, and then it unlocks and basically latches open. Now, that for me looks like you could, on a road trip to France, you could easily get 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 bottles of champagne, certainly 4 bottles of champagne in there. But this useful stuff, if you were going on a, maybe you could put your shoes if you were going on a hike and they're all muddy. It's just a cool thing. Again, comments have been, does it block the view from the driver's side mirror? Answer, yes it does. It sticks out a little bit more than the ladder, but again, you've got that peripheral thing. You shouldn't just be using your mirror, you've got your over-the-shoulder checks and so on as well. But it's just cool. So next thing, let's have a look at the boot space, because that is the 90s big compromise. I can't say I've ever actually bought a car up to the top of my garden to do a review. The downside of doing that today is they've just brought the combine out. So if you can hear some beeping and some noise in the background, the weather's nice, the guys are getting the crops in. But this is perhaps my favorite view of the Defender. I love this. There's a lot of harking back to Defenders of old. I love the big mud flaps. Maybe they need to be red. The design of these lights, apparently these are actually called squarecles. They even came up with a new name for that shape. It's basically a square with rounded off edges. You've got the spare wheel on the back. On the collection video, so many of you said that this wasn't horizontal. This cover, I've straightened it now, but boy did it take some straightening. It's a real like moving it around. But that's now straight. All the OCD people that are watching, I've sorted it. But when you open the back, first up, I mean, the fact it's got a full-size spare wheel is amazing. But perhaps this is the Defender 90's Achilles heel. The size of the boot isn't massive. Now for us, the main thing that goes in the back here are the 2 dogs when we go to the beach. We put a nice towel in and it's perfect size for them. But anything other than that, and you basically drop these seats down. The other thing you might be able to see is I've put the headrests down, and that just gives you more visibility out the back from your central rear view mirror. But to drop the seats, you basically just have a little clip there, and then once you do that, you've got a huge amount of space. So if you want bigger loads, you can put them in the back. The only downside is this stiffening bar here, and the way the seats lie flat means it's not a flat floor. And I can imagine for some people that will probably wind them up. For me, the main thing there, if I were to put my bike in the back, I'd need to put some kind of towel or covering over that just to make sure that that didn't damage my bike. But there's plenty of space in there. And then the other thing for us is, if I just pull these back up again, it's like a good core exercise, is if I've got maybe the 2 dogs could go on the back seat, we could drop 1 seat down, and I did this when I had Joe and Pat with me at Festival of Speed. So you've got a human passenger in the back, and then you've still got an extra bit of space. But that for me is where putting a roof box on this really would make it a more usable car. So if you need more luggage carrying capacity, especially if you had a young family, I'd say the Defender 90 is probably not for you. You'd need the 110, because the 110 boot is much, much bigger. But we could put a roof box on it, couldn't we? Okay, so this isn't a Land Rover roof box. This is just a Thule one that I've had since I had my S4 actually. Went on the S4, went on the Mini. But if I just plonk it up there, it should fit perfectly. The only thing, it's got some sculpting and stuff, but make sure it's in the middle, clamp it down. How good does that look? How badass does that look? I'm so chuffed with that. I think it looks wicked. Now, a couple of things before we jump on the inside that I've forgotten to talk about. This silver trim here, it's all part of the Heritage Pack, but I actually think that would look quite good in black. Put in the comments below if you agree with me. It would tune in to lots of the other black things. I'd probably have the Defender writing in black and this strip here in black as well. And then also in the boot, we've got a 3-pin electric plug socket and also a deployable rear tow hitch. A few people commented in my collection video, I said about putting a bike carrier on the back. My bad, totally forgot about the spare wheel. And my bike carrier can't fit with that spare wheel. You have to get a specific bike carrier to do that, which is a bit of a pain, but I might end up having to buy one of those anyway if I end up buying this car. Anyway, let's jump on the inside and I'll quickly run you through interior wise, and then we'll go out for a drive, because what's under the bonnet is really special. Side steps, absolute must, as is the pan roof, although it's got this sliding shutter that goes back when you start the car. Now we've got the roof box on, that's cut out quite a bit of the light inside, but the interior of this car, I know, and then there'll be many of you saying, oh, it's not as utilitarian as the Defender. For me, this isn't a Defender really, this is what the Discovery should have been. It's a stonking place in here. These seats are very comfortable. The ride height, the driving position is so elevated, you get an amazing view everywhere. It's a big car, however, turning circle is very impressive, and compared to the 110, the 90 is just so much easier to maneuver in car parks and around town and that kind of stuff. Infotainment system, really, really good. I must say, from a navigation point of view, we still use Apple CarPlay and Waze, but everything else is amazing. The stereo in here is phenomenally good. And then little things like in here, there's a fridge, which is very useful. Wireless charge mat for your phone. It's just a very well thought out cabin. It really, really is. Now, space in the back. I'll overlay some footage of me getting into the back while we talk about it. Once you are in the back of the car, there's a huge amount of space. It's exactly the same as the 110. It's a slightly higher, sort of almost like a tiered seat, so you look down over the driver. Brilliant visibility, lots of light. You've got these glass panels in the roof up here as well, which give lots more light. So once you're in the back, it's great. To get in, you have to drop the front seats and slide them forward and then climb in. That's a bit of a faff, and I can imagine, again, if you had a family, probably not ideal. But for us and for our circumstances, we very rarely have people in the back of the car. We probably normally use that for shopping or for bags. If we're going on a long journey, then the dogs would sit on the back seat with their harnesses on rather than being in the boot, and we put shopping or luggage in the boot. It's just mega in here, absolutely mega. I really do love it. Now, off-road driving modes and so on, this thing will go anywhere. We're going to take it for a drive now. I've not got the opportunity to go too off-road, although we will go a little bit off-road. We'll go a bit of green laning, have to really, but it's just such a mega place on the motorway. It's amazing. And the engine in this car, straight 6 3-litre diesel. Do not discount diesel, because this car and this engine are perfect together. So it's now the next day, and as often happens with YouTube, continuity is a bit of a problem, because yesterday it was lovely and bright and sunny and I got all my outside filming bits done. Today it's cold and raining. So excuse the continuity, but I thought I'd start the drive coming into town, because we do short runs, and one of the things I love about this shorter, smaller Defender is it's a little bit more usable in town. Don't get me wrong, it's still a big car. You've still got, you know, it's quite wide. It's still a very imposing car on the road, but if you want to nip into town, we found it really handy and relatively easy to park, relatively easy to maneuver. It's probably worth saying though that shorter drive cycles, so maybe driving 3 to 5 miles to work like Tracy's done a few times, or just going to the shops, isn't getting the most out of the diesel engine in this car, and your MPG will suffer a little bit. It's when you open the car up and you do a longer journey and you're driving for maybe half an hour to an hour, that's when the efficiency of the car starts to, you know, have benefits. But it's not too bad on shorter runs, but we have found driving around town really easy in the car. This, however, is a Defender, so what's it like off-road? Well, a couple of things. I'm not going to take it massively off-road because it is just a long-termer. It's not my car. However, not that far from where I live is a little green lane that I've used a couple of times for cars, and I thought it would be rude not to at least take it up there, do a little bit of off-roading, get some cool pictures, and talk a little bit about the off-roading credentials of this car. So that's exactly what I did yesterday with my mate Nick Williams. Okay, I've brought the car to green lane near my house. I have to add, this isn't really mega off-roading. This car can do so much more, but this is all I have at my disposal for today. So first things first, I'm going to go into the off-road mode, and I'm going to put it into, I think I'm going to put, I've got mud and ruts, sand, rock crawl, wade. I'm probably going to just put it into mud and ruts, I think, and then that is pretty much all I'm going to do. I've also got this really cool display here with some off-road cameras, one looking out just underneath the front bumper, and then one on each front wheel, so you can kind of get the perspective there. And then I've also got a view of the four wheels and the articulation of the wheels. So let me just put the car into drive and then head up this road. So this is one of my favourite roads to go mountain biking up. As I said, it's not massively off-road. What it does do, just up here where the stream water comes down when it's been raining heavily, there's often quite a lot of big trenches, and you get a lot of, I should be able to cross axle the car, and it is quite spiky. You couldn't bring a road car up here. This Defender should have absolutely no problem with this whatsoever. So here we go. Now you might be able to make that out up ahead. We've got some pretty nasty ruts in the road. I should now get to a situation where I can probably get the car completely cross-axled over. And just, yeah. And I've got a really cool head-up display that I've not seen before. So head-up display is showing my sideways view, front and back articulation, rear view side to side. A few little scratchy bobs. If I just go across this, yeah, I can feel a little bit of articulation there. As I said, actually the worst bit is just up here. This is the bit, I think, where it comes out the trees. This is the most spiky bit. So the cool thing about these is they literally will go anywhere. It's very dry today. I've got no traction issues at all, but there's a whopping great big trench there. I've got huge brake over ankles on the front. There we go, I'm cross axle. Now that front wheel is not in the air, I don't think. That's just too cool. Too cool. Actually, this is probably where I'm going to get a bit of a nice cross axle going on. I think I've probably got some wheels off the ground there. Yeah, definitely. Awesome. I'm obviously provoking the issue quite a lot here. That front left wheel is now, I'm now completely cross axled. And the car isn't even, it's just not blinking. It's just not blinking. that fun as that off-roading was, that for me, that's where this car comes alive. The diesel engine in this car, so it's 300 PS, it's the D300 variant, is so smooth, so powerful, so torquey. It's a delight to drive. I'm actually going to do a separate video just on the engine, because I think we've fallen into this trap in recent years after the whole kind of Dieselgate scandal of just demonizing diesel, and they are, for certain purposes, brilliant engines. And I think for me, the diesel in this car is the perfect marriage between engine and car in terms of what it's designed to do. This car, I mean, even on my short journey so far, averaging about 26 miles to the gallon. On a longer journey, you'll get that up into the low 30s. Worth noting a little bit, I've now got the roof box on the car and there is significantly more wind noise than there was before. Not a great surprise there. It has all the aerodynamics of a house brick. If I don't have the roof box on, there's still quite a lot of wind noise from the roof rack, although it's been aerodynamically designed to make sure it's not too bad. And then the gear carrier and the ladder also produce a fair amount of wind noise. But for me, it's not too much to put me off. But if I just stop talking, you can hear that in the background, and that's the roof box. It'd be worse if I had my bike on the roof. So yeah, the final sort of thoughts on the car. I've still got it hopefully for a few more months because I'm loving every minute of driving this car. It's mega. Now, the characteristics of the Defender 90 that would put many buyers off, mainly the compromised load space, as I've mentioned a couple of times, just is not a problem for me and the lifestyle we have and the usage profile that we have of the car. We've got ways of dealing with that, and that means Defender 90, and it's a surprise to me because I did think it would probably have too small a boot and would be too compromised, and it's really not turned out that way. I love the way the car looks. I love all the things hanging off of it. I just think it just looks like an adventure car, and that's what you want. But it's a brilliant car. I'd love to know what you guys think of the Defender 90 75th Anniversary Edition. It's easily my favourite Ambassadors long-termer I've had so far. The only problem I have now is finding the, I don't know, all of the money. I think it's 86,000 quid to buy it. That's a bit of a challenge, but we might have to work out a way of doing that, because honestly, when that email comes in or the phone call happens, Ped, can you bring the Ambassador's car back now? It's time for your next long-term, or I might either conveniently forget to answer the call or the email and just ignore Hendy Group, and hopefully they won't mind me just borrowing the car forever. But yeah, it's brilliant. Anyway, I'm going to carry on my way. Hope you enjoyed that one, guys. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol Ped for plenty more content to come. I'm now up to 27.7 miles to the gallon, and the long-term trip on this car is over 30. I'm going to put CarPlay back on now to work out where I'm going. Anyway, guys, I'll see you on the next film. You take care. Drive safe.